Deep in the shadows, I know it's hard to put one foot in front of the other.
Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is CeeChronicles. I post fragrance related content and would very much love it if you decide to subscribe and join the family. To those who are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Also remember to hit the like and share button, guys. Those two buttons are very helpful when it comes to ensuring that the video reaches a lot of people. Today's video is going to be a review on Atheeri from the house of Lattafa. This fragrance has been in my collection for about 5 weeks. This is the packaging, right? It's going to have a bee there and of course the bedazzled whatever, and then you open it like that and then the fragrance is gonna sit in there, okay? And then the bottle is this one, Atheeri from the house of Lattafa. It does have the bee as well there, so it tempts you to think, this is gonna be a honey fragrance. Let me spray it on my skin and then tell you my thoughts. I unboxed this one in a haul that I posted I think about maybe 2 weeks back, okay? And when I sprayed it, it gave me a burst of alcohol, which is something that sometimes happens to some of the Middle Eastern fragrances. I'm trying to align the B, okay, to be where it says Atheeri. So it gave me a burst of alcohol, and I thought, okay, this is one that's probably gonna need to sit a little bit before I can kind of like break it down, right? Now, 5 weeks later, I would say this fragrance has set, okay? And I have been pumping out some sprays from time to time to see how it is transforming. It's the note of passion flower, dewdrops, orchid, jasmine, vanilla, and amberwood, okay? So there is no mention of honey in this, but I think the honey thing is perhaps describing the journey that the bee would take in pollinating the flowers, if you will. So anyway, that's just me being a little bit silly there. All right, now this fragrance opens up with that little bit of a burst of alcohol is still there, but it doesn't bother me that much. To my nose, it's actually gone out, say maybe in 2 minutes or so. And then you get into that feel of a fruity, juicy, sweet but tangy passion flower. What they have called a passion flower is also the passion fruit, okay, the fruit in itself. And if you've eaten passion fruit, even in its ripened state, you will know that does sometimes give you that if you know what I mean. It can be a little bit sour there, and in this it's interpreted perfectly to an extent that you would certainly feel that this is a sweet but sour or tangy or tart-like fragrance. There were a lot of comparisons of this to Angham, and in as much as I hadn't smelled this, I was a little bit skeptical in adding it because of that. Why? Because sometimes Lattafa does that, where they will just trick a fragrance and make it a continuation of whatever and then just drop it there. Now, the comparisons as far as I'm concerned to Angham are going to be on the vanilla, and that's where it starts and ends. The vanilla in this Atheeri is exactly or almost identical to how they have used the vanilla in Angham, but the Angham vanilla works with a lavender, making it like a sweet aromatic scent, whereas this one works with that orchid, okay, a synthetic flower, orchid, and that jasmine, but mostly orchid, guys. And why I say synthetic flower is it feels, of course, like a flower concocted or synthesized than an actual flower, where I'd say, this is vividly smelling like rose. So it's mostly the orchid in here, right, that's going to work with that passion fruit or that tangy feel, and the vanilla, right? So that is what you're going to get in here, making it a sweet, sour, woody scent. Secondly, this one has been said to smell a lot like that Gucci gorgeous orchid, and I concur. Right to the nose, it does vibe the same, unless you are particular, right? The opening of this is sharp as opposed to the opening of a gorgeous orchid, but that really doesn't matter because you don't carry the opening of a fragrance, you carry the mid and the dry down. All right, so the mid is similar in the use of the orchid, so there is going to be that similarity, orchid working in vanilla, orchid working in vanilla, a little bit of that jasmine, but orchid working with the vanilla. That is what you carry the most, and the vanilla is able to hold up in this during the entire wear. So if you love vanilla, you are certainly going to enjoy this vanilla. The differences to my nose. The second difference, okay, the first difference I said to that gorgeous orchid is going to be the opening, which we said we don't care about. But the second and perhaps the last difference is going to be in that dry down, where in Gorgeous Orchid, I think they have listed ozonic notes. And what those notes do is they add like a watery, aquatic, fresh, clean, accord in a fragrance. And in Gorgeous Orchid, that is quite prominent. Whereas in this, where they have added the dewdrops, which could very well be those ozonic notes as well. It could just be a fancy word that they decided to use there, dewdrops, okay? But the dewdrops, again, in perfumery do add that clean, aquatic, fresh, green, even accord in a fragrance. So I do get that in the dry down of this, that it's a little bit green, but not as fresh as the dry down in Gorgeous Orchid. So if that is a problem to you, maybe you need to test this before you purchase it. But the DNA to me is an if you like, you're certainly gonna like. Okay, this does vibe a lot like that Gorgeous Orchid by Gucci, except that the dry down of this Atheeri is going to pronounce more that amber wood. Okay, so it's gonna be woody, right? And that woodiness in the to some noses is going to have like a little bit of a masculine accord there, and that is what this one ends up doing. So note proportions in this, in the dry down, where they have used those dewdrops, that water accord, to add an aquatic accord, a fresh accord, a clean accord, a green accord, does to me interpret as green, woody, green and woody, okay? Meaning that that fresh accord in this, I would say, is not as prominent as the fresh accord in the Gorgeous. So you are to expect a woody dry down in this. You are to expect a green accord in this. But the vanilla in this will hold up from start to finish, right? So this is going to be favored by those who like vanilla. This is going to be favored by those who like fruity scents, right? Because it's fruity but tangy, remember, because of our passion fruit. If you like vanilla, if you like fruity, tangy, a tad bit sweet fragrances, you're definitely gonna love this. And that dry down to my nose, or that woody dry down to my nose, though still carrying the vanilla, makes it such that this can be worn even by men, all right? Am I saying it's a masculine fragrance? No, I am just saying it has this woodiness in the dry down, which if you're a man and you like fruity scents, you're probably gonna like this, which is something that you don't get from Angham. Angham remains pretty all through. So the dewdrops, or the note of the dewdrops, or the ozonic note is not really able to dilute the notes here. It is there, but kind of like thrown to the side, and then you get a vanilla saying, I'm still here, but a woody accord presenting itself in the dry fragrance. Though having a similar vanilla doesn't make me feel as though I didn't have to add this since I have Angham, all right? Because this has got a little bit of an intensity that I do not get from Angham. This fragrance, though summer themed, to my nose, because of that orchid, because of that passion fruit, okay? And the passion fruit is also a little bit tropical, right? If I didn't mention that, as also a tropical way to this. Though the pyramid in itself is kind of summer themed to my nose, this fragrance has been behaving a little bit weird. 1 minute I spray it and I can barely smell it. 2 hours in, and sometimes I smell it and it's present, like in its intensity. So this is either going to be nose specific, mood specific, of course weather specific, or it's going to be one that amber wood will keep intensifying it to an extent that instead of it being a summer, spring themed DNA, it will have some weight even in winter. So this is probably going to be a fragrance that you can wear all year round, just based on what it's doing. And I've had it for 5 weeks, and when I say a fragrance keeps giving me facets and whatever. The good thing about it is it just means that after maceration or after sitting in your cupboard for a while is going to surprise you by either intensifying or pronouncing a certain note or lasting longer or interpreting as more refined. So that is what I can say, guys, about this one, right? It does smell very much in the same vein as that gorgeous Orchid by Gucci. Remember, the opening is different and the dry down is different, but those differences to the nose may really not matter. So that is Atheeri from the house of Lattafa. I would say this was not a bad buy to me. There are some fragrances that I would bring here and I'll tell you offset that, no, this is underwhelming. This was not a bad buy to me. It's a nice fragrance. I do not have a problem with it, and I look forward to discussing about it or your comments, telling me what your thoughts are about this fragrance. Chronicles is my name. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's meet in the comment section where we discuss more about fragrances. Remember to turn on post notifications, guys. That way you get to be notified anytime I upload a video. Like and share this one, and remember that smelling good is a form of good manners. Cheers.